Welcome to Debt to Cinema. I'm Stephen Maltmanex.
And I'm Brian Gillis. Like most people, we love going to the theater and catching the latest releases. However, it can sadly put a big dent in your wallet.
Fortunately, living in the digital age makes the viewing possibilities endless from the comforts of home.
Many of these films that you can see right from your couch, we're ashamed to say we missed, despite labeling ourselves cinephiles.
So join us as one or both of us cross off a title from our list of shame.
It can be an all-time essential classic,
Or an underrated piece of cinema that's worth giving a shot.
hell, it might just be some trashy film we want the other's opinion on. So sit tight and join us as we pay off our debts, $1 at a time.
So I know that a few months back you were just happy calling it, what was it, your originals that inspired famous remakes thing, which this could easily have been a part of, not gonna lie.
Definitely, yeah.
We've just been on a foreign film kick this month. I guess that's what I'm calling it. There was, last week there
also
was
next
4 months,
week.
3 weeks, 2 days, there was The Tribe. Hell, even Howard the Duck is from another fucking planet, so you know what? Fuck it, I don't know, may as well throw that in there. But yeah, this is definitely... Ah, man, I have such great affection for The Departed, so I have to be honest right off the bat. It was difficult to divorce that movie from this viewing experience just because I remember that movie so well, and
It's
it's
a shot-for-shot remake.
not shot for shot, but like entire scenes
pretty
are
close.
lifted. Like this movie's different enough, stylistically. I think
Yeah.
The Departed
Triad
because it's Scorsese.
versus Irish Mob versus Triad, Boston versus Hong Kong, like the weird little like visual stylized editing, especially the fade in fade outs and how like corny the music is versus how like kick-ass Scorsese did his.
Well,
cut.
Scorsese's is also just, it's more raw, and there's so many like random cuts, and there's things that should be considered flaws cinematically. Like when you get the title for that movie, it's 17 minutes in, and then it just comes up with a black screen, The Departed, and the music doesn't even fade; it just jumps there. So it's, I know. It's
Oh,
awesome.
we're gonna fuck some shit up right now, now.
Just that movie in general, like I rewatched it a year ago in theaters, and I still love it. But it's Scorsese, who's known for doing some hardcore stuff like Goodfellas or Casino or hell even Mean Streets. And what The Departed, rewatching that, it really struck me. That movie is fucking mean. It's so hardcore and just pretty cruel. Like the streets of Boston are.
Especially like if you watch The Town, which is only a couple years after that too.
Oh yeah, I mean, but this, not to knock on it, but the best stuff here is definitely what did not remind me of The Departed whatsoever. This movie is a lot shorter. That's another thing about The Departed. I feel because it's longer, there's just so much more meat that's added to it.
Well, the other thing though isn't necessarily the meat, and I gotta start here before we get into this. Scorsese, during development and after production on The Departed, claims that he didn't even know Infernal Affairs existed, or that his movie was a remake of that, which is crazy to think about, given that he's like the kingpin of like film, like sanctuaries.
Yeah,
I'm
but
gonna
not so
preserve
much
this.
with
I'm gonna
contemporary
preserve
cinema,
that.
though. Like he's much
But-
more rooted in classic, not contemporary. So at the time that this was made, I could absolutely understand that.
Maybe, but this is one of the biggest international films of the early 2000s, and it was so big that they made a trilogy. The first one came out, this one in 2002. They put another one out in 2002, and then they made the final one, the third one, in 2003. And the really weird thing about these films, because I was so busy researching them last night, as I have maybe seen the actors in other things before in the very limited Hong Kong cinema I've seen, and then also some of them are in more international productions like House of Flying Daggers, or Tony Leung in particular is in a lot
he's been in John Woo
Wong Kar
stuff.
Wai.
Yeah.
He's in Hero. He's in a lot
Tony
of stuff.
Leung
Andy
is, I think, is
Lau.
also in Hard Boiled. Which,
Yeah,
this
and-
movie did kind of remind me of that.
They're,
There's a scene that I swear is directly lifted from Hard Boiled in this.
Well, they're the same wave of filmmaking. It's called the Hong Kong Second Wave or something. And so John Woo and the directors on this were also from that same generation of filmmakers, which makes sense. Like it seems like the 90s, regardless of what country you're in, was a whole new just mode of cinematic storytelling with people that grew up not necessarily in movie theaters, but rather with a VHS tape, or in this case, maybe Betamax, you know? But yeah, they made three of these films, and they were all hits. And the first one is obviously this film. It's current day. The second one is 100% a prequel that kind of tells what goes on in between the police academy stuff and where this one starts. And then the third one is a parallel prequel and sequel. So you have Tony Young and Andy Lau in that one again. And so, like, the weirder things in particular, like the one thing that stands apart, wow, I did my research because I haven't seen The Departed in 10 years, but I totally forgot that Matt Damon gets killed at the end of that thing. That happens in one of the sequels.
That's the
so
major
they kind of
difference.
just.
Oh, wait, in this one?
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Well, now I totally had interest in rewatching it. Now you're not rewatching it and watching those sequels. And oh shit, now that kind of got spoiled.
I don't know if that actually happens, but I would assume it does because in across the films, and so they kind of just. You know, this is pretty quick. This is cut it feels like a Scorsese movie. It's 10 minutes, 105 minutes, something like that.
Well, this one feels more, it's almost like a CSI episode, honestly. Like, it did not feel that cinematic to me, especially when you compare it to the other Hong Kong stuff. Like, I have Hard Boiled on DVD. I have it on Blu-ray. I rewatched part of it, you know, and it's just...
I've never seen it.
It's a completely different... You should. It's really fucking awesome.
Yeah, I bought it recently.
It's a totally different...
I know what it is. It's a shoot 'em up movie. It's a John Woo movie.
Oh yeah, no, it kicks ass. I mean, this one, it's you know, it's got some quick, flashy cuts. It's got some strange aesthetic choices. Really, the best thing I think it has going for it is its script and in some ways its characters. Stylistically, it's just I feel like Scorsese added a lot to where it counts, and this just, you know, the way that it's shot, it feels kind of like a standard thriller. I mean, maybe it would have been more exciting had I not seen the remake that. I totally have that bias there because there was no suspense and so many of these scenes are just the same. But yeah, the remake really has so much more.
I think it is less about more and more so that we can actually connect to the world. Not only is it America, it's set in right after September 11th Boston. But then,
I mean, even then, though, that's just as foreign to me. The only similarity is it's America, but Boston, just the way that that's portrayed, that's probably the first time I actually saw Boston in that way on film, or maybe ever. On film.
I think it's just more that we have a deep understanding of how the Italian mob or just gang life in America works, being products of the environment, that you don't need like this kind of crash course. Whereas the Triad, even in this film, you at no point ever really understand what's going on. You just go, oh, it's organized crime. They're doing bad things. Here's a drug deal. Here's this. And you never even fear them, you know?
Well, I guess I kind of see the intimidation of the boss here. Like, you know, this is the key thing I think for me is like, you know, first, I don't think you can top Jack Nicholson. You know, like, he just makes such an impression in that movie. You know, like, even the fucking... Actually, here's a perfect example. The movie theater scene. In this movie, it's just a movie theater scene to move the plot forward. In The Departed, it's Jack Nicholson fucking around, pulling out a prosthetic dick to fuck with Matt Damon, and there's a laugh in it.
See, like, I don't remember that.
You don't. That's a big like what the fuck laugh in that. Like there's little things in The Departed that make it more than just a scene and that make an impression. Especially because Jack Nicholson is pretty much going nuts during that movie.
I would assume the screenwriter who adapted or stole the movie was pretty much going, what works, let's leave that. What doesn't work, let's make it better. And so it's you already got international hit. If you had never seen...
the prosthetic thing was Jack Nicholson's idea too, so he added a lot of weird stuff to that movie.
Even still, my point is that when you already have a hit, when you have a plot that is seriously genius, The Departed, won Best Picture. It was one of the best movies of 2006. Won a lot of money, big box office draw, great cast. But just the idea of having a mole from the police department working in the mafia, and then a mafia mole working in the police department, and having them cross paths and having the same cast of characters working on both sides of the aisle. If you just had one side of this story, it would be a pretty okay movie. But when you get both sides and you get this umbrella of organized crime and it becomes more than just a cops and robbers story, then that's when you get cinematic gold. It becomes a story that you've never seen before, even though we have seen this before. We've seen the Americanized version.
Unfortunately.
And it's of note. that there's a South Korean remake, there is a Indian remake. Like, this is something, it's such a success that worldwide different cultures have their own version of the story. It is one of those. It is the pinnacle. It's right up there in the upper echelon of original films that are so good that it literally creates a franchise in and of itself. Like, they could have made it a Departed sequel if they wanted to. I'm not sure exactly how they did it.
No,
Maybe you
The
follow
Departed
Mark
is like,
Wahlberg's character or something.
honestly, The Departed is more like, hey, everyone dies, and it's another crime doesn't pay more. Like, I actually do think, I mean, producers of the original Infernal Affairs, or just the filmmakers in general, they did comment on the
Basic
Departed,
films.
saying, yeah, it's their Hollywood version. And story wise, you know what? That's absolutely true. I do think The Departed is just another cops and robbers movie where there's a good guy and then there's a bad guy, and that's pretty clear cut, even though their circumstances are not of the norm for that kind of movie. In this,
Infernal
it's a story.
Affairs.
It's a story of redemption, really, and that's what
I loved. Like, it's the thing that's totally missing from The Departed is, I mean, it's not the best thing here. You have 3 love interests. You got the shrink, you have the author wife, and then you have the girlfriend that used to be with the daughter, which I do remember that being.
Wait, did you say author wife?
Yeah, Andy Lau's wife in the movie.
That's the shrink as well. I think that's the same, right? Like,
no, not in this. That's what they did in The Departed.
wow,
They can join the characters, so not only did they share the same underworld,
so they're
and
actually
police
different
background.
They're actresses. They're
Yes,
different.
completely different actors, completely different character.
Wow, I'm
The
totally
Departed
racist
went.
then.
There's not. A,
Wow, that's
yeah,
awful.
no. In The Departed, they went. There's too many female characters in this story. That's turned into one singular entity, and they literally went full fucking crazy with these guys sharing the same fuckhole. Okay, whereas in Infernal Affairs, no, they're completely different people. It turns, even if it's not fleshed out well, I loved the fucking author here. I loved how you got this dialogue, which like I said, I haven't seen The Departed in about a decade, so I'm not sure if it's there either. When she's like, "Oh, I'm trying to come up with this character, someone who has 24 different personalities," which totally reminded me of Split. And then she's like, "Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy?" And then you have that tug, you have that pull on Andy Lau's character where it's like, yeah, is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? Like, you totally buy into him later on in this film that he's trying to do the right thing, whereas in The Departed, in those final moments with Matt Damon, you're like, nah, he's a fucking dick.
No,
he's the bad guy.
Totally. I mean, he's only protecting his own ass when he finds out that Jack Nicholson might be an FBI informant. So he's just covering himself. That's all he's doing. It's funny. You mentioned the 28 personalities thing. This just came in my mind while I was watching it, but did M. Night get the basis of that idea from this?
No.
Think about it. And then, I mean,
You
what's
could
funny
say,
is that...
no,
and
you
then,
could say
but one
that
more thing,
he
one more
stole
thing.
it from Identity,
Just one more thing, and then one more thing. And then you jump to the thing with the shrink, who... I'm a fucking idiot, but I was assuming that was the same person because I guess I was just projecting the same character, whatever. I mean, whatever. That's stupid of me. But there's this line from Yan where he says, I keep getting these migraines. It might be schizophrenia, and just I'm thinking
that's just
like, it's just like, wow, it's too close there. Where I was just wondering, wow, did M. Night really, was he watching this one night and thinking might make a good movie? I don't know.
The likelihood of him stealing the concept from Identity with John Cusack is much higher.
Hey, well, I just found it funny either way.
Like, there's plenty of fiction, especially in film, that deals with schizophrenia in a real way, or not even schizophrenia, but
Split
personality disorder, rather than just Split. I think that's just the pinnacle in contemporary filmmaking. But I like even though I haven't seen The Departed in so long, the sequences, or better yet, just shots that I went, wow, that's not even original. I thought Scorsese did something really cool. Is towards the end in the elevator, when the elevator doors are opening and closing on the dead body on the ground. I was like, that is the fucking same shot. The same composition, 110%. Meeting on top of the buildings. Like,
well, I think
there's
the way
a
that
remake, and then there's a new version of it, and we experienced that when we did The Fly. Those couldn't be more different from one another, despite sharing the same original concept of teleportation pod, man and fly get in it, out comes a man fly, and then another one a fly man. Okay,
yeah,
you're watching the same movie. There's very little difference.
Well, I think there is a big difference as far as impact in The Departed, in that there's really no score, and when you get to the elevator and there's this shooting, it's really more of the instantaneous shock value that you get there, and that's what catches people off guard. Here, there's a quick cut to
There's
black after a gunshot. There's like a fade in close up in slow mo. I
there's
think it's in
some
black and white. There's
real
like
weird slow
a
mo.
bunch of
Yeah.
those. And then you got the body slashing. You know what I really liked though, what was a cool touch, even though it makes no sense when you think about it, are the bullets going through the roof.
Oh, that was
Um,
really cool though.
it,
Yeah.
it was a cool image, but then also part of me is just thinking like, so did he just put the gun like right under his neck and shot him like up through the head on the top that way? Huh. All right. Well, I mean, but hey, the image looked
Well,
really cool.
I have to imagine that was you get this idea where they're like, oh, let's put on a show for the cops,
Hmm.
and like that they were just shooting to make it seem like they were fighting. And then you get that reveal
Yeah.
that, oh, actually Andy Lau's character killed this other mole, so he's the only mole left type of
Hmm.
idea. Like despite its problems, because yeah, it's not the best movie ever made. It is one of the best stories ever written.
Oh
I
yeah, no,
truly
I mean,
believe
well,
that.
just the theme there, the opening text, starting with "Hey, the
Yeah.
worst of the eight hells is continuous hell," and that just adds up to everything throughout, just with both of these characters, but I mean, specifically Lau, and how that continues, and that's enough for how this wraps up for me to go. You know what? I actually still do want to see the sequels. I actually want to see
Yeah.
how this continues, and if I can, just to see how this story goes, and not expect the Departed out of it, because man, I mean, that's really, it's not even fair to the movie, but like at the end of the day, this ends up being more of a dime a dozen for me. But I gotta say though, the best stuff here are the stuff that it was not in The Departed. Probably my favorite scene. It's very early on, but it's that speaker store scene.
Oh yeah, really?
Which
Did they meet in
no,
The Departed or
no,
no?
no, not at all.
Yeah.
They were in the same training
Yeah, that
academy,
scene-
but no, they didn't meet. This,
Yeah, that scene was awesome. It
I
really
know,
was.
yeah.
It's the first modern day, like in the modern era, like the 10 years removed from the opening, whatever, 15 minutes or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, you get to see them in action together. They're both there under false pretenses, and then how that plays out later on in the film with the recording that gets Andy Lau up shit creek. Just how smart that was, like that reveal, almost, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So good. Plus, just that speaker scene was really good writing too.
Yeah.
I love their interaction.
Just his reaction in that second one of like, hey, just use this chord, it'll play better. And then he like
Yeah.
genuinely looks impressed by it. It's a really funny moment, but yeah, it's really just stuff like that I guess I enjoyed the most, and then everything else is fine. Yeah, I mean, I liked seeing
really
a Men in
liked-
Black 2 poster in the movie theater
Right?
lobby. Yeah.
Also, not the Fugitive. What was that poster
K-19.
version for?
There was
Yeah, it was
also
K-19,
one.
wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, there was also Eight-Legged Freaks.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
No, I did like a lot of stuff in this film. Yeah, it has the slow-mo, which kind of sucks. It has the stupid fade-in, fade-outs that are just amateurish. Seems very 90s.
You know what? Like, I think aesthetically, that's where I feel like actually this is a low point too. Is just like there's so many things that are just too weird as far as how it's edited. Like, for example, when the superintendent dies.
I love that when he fucking got pushed off the building. Just the way
Just the way that it falls on the cab, and that's just like, whoa, okay, that happened. But then you have, that like emotional music creeping in, and then, hey, let's flash back to all the good times where we knew each other. Remember at
I think
training
that's
when you
just-
asked if there was something different about me, and I said you had different socks? Or, hey, remember when we were on the rooftop and you gave me a birthday present, and I told you I didn't like watches? Like, it's like, really, is this such a deep moment that
It was
like, it feels like it's playing like it should be a big moment, and this is the most that we know about these two characters and how they bond,
I think it's just that we're so removed from Hong Kong cinema. I've seen almost little to none, and that's why next week we're going to do another one. You have a choice. It's going to be a Wong Kar-wai film.
It's up to you.
Be happy
It's up to you.
together.
No,
No,
you
I'm
don't-
saying you have a choice of which one it is. Do you want to do Happy Together, or do you want to do In the Mood for Love? Happy Together is set in
You can literally flip
the
a coin,
90s Argentina, and it's a queer romance, whereas In the Mood for Love is a 60s period piece. Both of them notably star Tony Leung.
You can literally flip a coin on that one. I have no
Okay.
preference, but I'll go
decide.
either way.
But I think it's just that we haven't seen a lot of Hong Kong film. This is supposed to be a main box office draw. This has one of the biggest ensembles in Hong Kong history.
Mm-hmm.
All of these actors are big stars, especially Andy Lau, who's like, number one, he is the biggest box office draw in Hong Kong history, eclipsing even Stephen Chow and Jackie Chan. He is like a multi-platinum recording artist, like big time, and he's the lead in this film. Like we don't have an equivalency in America anymore. Like those people don't exist. We don't have Frank Sinatra or like Bing Crosby
No.
or whatever. Like those people that are both, or like imagine if Justin Bieber was also an actor. We don't have that. That stopped existing after, like, shortly after Elvis.
I mean, Justin
And
Timberlake maybe, but he
sort of, but
doesn't.
he doesn't really do the music stuff anymore. Like
No, not
yeah,
anymore.
maybe he made the song for Trolls that was a big hit, but he doesn't really do music. Like the 2020 Experience was his first album. Well, I guess the two of them were his first albums in like 7 years or something. He didn't really even tour those. Like he is a actor first and foremost now, or I guess you could say an entertainer. But yeah, we don't have that anymore. Like The Rock is kind of our last thing, and he stopped doing wrestling. He's strictly an actor now. Like there is no longer the hybrid entertainer in America. Yet, like I said, Andy Lau is the biggest Cantonese pop star, even still, on the planet, and he's in this and a lot of other movies. And I just think there's a disconnect from a entertainment standpoint that we can't fathom. Like Korea does the same thing. They have lots of breakthrough artists that go to movies. Notably, the Green Hornet, Jay Chow in or not Kato, I mean, in the Green
Yeah.
Hornet. There's a lot of them on the other side of the planet, and I think, yeah, maybe like that. Oh, look how heartwarming this was. Let's have a flashback for things that happened 40 minutes ago. Is a little ham-fisted, but then again,
It might work
even
differently for them. Yeah.
yeah, but even by today's standards, Chinese cinema is still developing. They haven't really reached their like decline. Like
Well, they
it's
don't.
a climbing,
They don't have to
climbing,
speak
climbing
the
entity.
same visual language as us,
Yeah.
or aesthetic language as us. I mean, no one in Asian cinema, no one has had to for years. I mean, this goes way back. It's
Like
although I
Shaw
think it's
Brothers, which is notably that one of the two directors here actually worked with the Shaw Brothers and Wong Kar-wai, and he was a cinematographer first and foremost. But like besides this and the two other Infernal Affair movies, by the way, which is like the best title ever. I always thought it was Internal Affairs, but then
yeah.
when it's actually Infernal, like throw in
And it
that
makes a
whole
lot more
like,
sense just given
yeah,
that that
that
idea of
idea of
continuous hell.
hell.
Yeah, that
You're like,
I'm
oh
just like,
man,
okay, now I get it. Now I
it's
like
like
the idea behind that.
Infernal plus Internal Affairs, because that's what Andy Lau's character doing, and it's like, oh, that, like, what's The Departed even mean? Like, when you compare
It just
the
means
titles,
that everyone fucking dies in The Departed, and that's it.
I guess,
Yeah.
one of the best titles ever made, one of the best stories ever written. And if the movie's not amazing, that's all right. I don't think it was ever supposed to be.
Well,
However,
it's like I feel like I want to get why people lose their shit for this still to this day,
it's
but it's like I don't,
it's a
well,
good movie.
yeah,
It's
it
just
is. It's a really good
it's
movie.
been
There's still a lot more
ruined by
to it.
Scorsese's cut.
It's kind of a
I think
shame
that's
that I saw The Departed
it's a
so
s-
many times, but
right. That's
like I
essentially
love
what
that
it
movie.
is.
That's still one of my favorite movies. Like it's probably in my top 100.
Put it this way, I know how passionate you are about Let Me In being a better version of Let the Right One In.
Not a better version, but
But
one like Let the Right One In is a really great movie. Let Me In is one that is more accessible. Like that's the Spielberg version of that movie. It still like really complements the original very well, and it's basically the same thing, scene for scene, most of the time shot for shot. But tonally, it's just very different.
my point being, though, if you've seen Let Me In and you decide, hey, I want to get into international cinema, let me
Yeah.
check the original out, you're probably going to go,
Let
what's
the
the
Right
big
One In's going to
idea?
be very cold for you, and you're just
Yeah.
not going to be that into it.
And I mean, this is a conversation that we had a couple of times in our originals remake section when we did, what was it? A guy named
Yeah, a guy named Joe. That was the one for me. Yeah, and then for you,
yeah,
it was Father of the Bride.
Yeah. So for both of those situations, you're like, well, I've already seen Always. It's kind of the same movie. For me, it was like, well, I've seen Father of the Bride. And that's a better comedy. Like
Well, it's weird. I think it's kind of the same thing with a guy named Joe, where I feel like having more time to distance myself from it. A guy named Joe might be the better movie because Always is just very nostalgic for that kind of movie, and it's kind of the same exact thing tonally, but Always is also like an 80s flick that's kind of in the present day, so it feels weird, but yeah, I feel like I like Always better, even though a guy named Joe's the better movie. It's like that.
See, in this situation, I think The Departed is without a doubt the better movie, just as an American film goer, there is more that you can sink your teeth into. That
Hmm.
extra screen time, not having to read subtitles for one thing, music or lack of music that makes sense.
When I just
Being
they get to
able to
flesh out the
read.
characters a lot more.
Uh,
Like I feel like the thing
Also,
with the shrink here, it just doesn't
it's shoehorned.
play that well. Yeah, the music is
It,
shoehorned in, and I can buy the fact that what he says, "I'm dreaming about you," like Yan, really needs some sort of escape from his undercover reality because he's dealing with so much
mhm.
shit. But yeah, that pain that Leo feels throughout, which I mean, The Departed's probably the one he should have gotten the fucking Oscar for because you fucking feel that torment that he's going through in The Departed, where he's just getting just emotionally wrecked left and right and just struggling
Did
to push through it.
like
It's
one of the scenes that really stuck out for me here, besides seeing a Nissan Skyline on cinema at like the height of its popularity, which was awesome, was that sequence where Tony Leung gets his cast broken. Didn't
yeah.
that all? Did that happen in The
Yeah,
Departed?
it did happen in The Departed. It was completely different though. Here, it's really cool that the boss just comes in and smacks that
Yeah.
cast.
He
But
doesn't.
then,
He doesn't say
then
anything. He
Yan
just.
he's just holding it like it's nothing, and then you find out where the thing is. What happens is that Ray Winstone is at a bar with Leo, and he's searching him and checks to see that he's fine. This is right when he's getting initiated into the gang, and then he looks at the cast, just puts it at one side, then puts the arm over, and is just like and then slams it right on
The edge of the
the
bar.
billiards table, and then just
Uh,
breaks it, and Leo is fucking screaming in pain the whole
yeah.
time, and it's a fucking harsh moment, and I just love that one better. But I've seen that so many times that I love that moment right when I see it as it's about to happen when I'm rewatching it, that it's so dumb to compare, but it's like I can't help but see that and be like, oh, so I see that The Departed did that too, like
See,
so
that's where I
many
think,
similar beats. It's
being that I'd only seen it once and it was quite some time ago, I was fairly removed from the film, maybe not the story. That a lot of these sequences outside of the elevator thing and meeting on the
yeah.
roof, and just like the twist that happens at the end and everything, like it was still refreshing. It was like seeing The Departed again, and I might not have been comparing scenes or beats, but the ones that stood out were obviously there. And being able to see what it's like literally in a different culture was really interesting for me. I'm not gonna buy it. No, I will buy it for $1. I think it's a really well done international film that works regardless of your country of origin. It's just there are things, despite it being an early 2000s film, that make it feel like a mid to low budget 90s thriller. But it's still one of the smartest movies I've ever seen. It doesn't say much about our culture or anything. Like it
No.
doesn't prescribe a certain worldview. You're not going to learn anything, but it is a great look into how twisted your life can become when you're so dedicated to your job, when you're trying to either stop crime or keep it happening, and the metamorphosis that the characters go through, and then just kind of the philosophies that they prescribe to is really interesting, especially in this case, because for as much more talking and dialogue there is in The Departed, and how fleshed out the characters are,
Hmm.
and how bigger the cast is just in our eyes because we know who they are and based on other things they've seen. I just felt that Annie Lau and Tony Leung were so good here. Like I seriously went, I was like, what else are they in? Let me learn about them. I want to watch something else that they're in. Next week I'm gonna definitely do a Hong Kong film. Like I was out of all Asian cinema, Hong Kong is the one that I have the least exposure to. I think the order of what I've seen probably goes Japanese, Korean, and then China. And I think I've seen more Thai films than China, to be honest. Like
Really?
especially counting Ricky
No,
O.
I think Rikio
Well,
is Hong Kong cinema.
I
I
think
think
the
it is.
actor is
I'm
Thai.
not sure, but
I mean, I'm not sure either. Well, I mean, there's the Ong Bak movies, which I've kind of seen.
oh
Those are
yeah,
Thai,
that's right. I
and
forgot.
then so there's three of those, and then there's one or two other like breakthrough hits. But I seriously like it's Jackie Chan movies and Stephen Chow movies. Like I haven't seen anything that's acclaimed outside of like the blockbuster circles, and then this one is part of that same thing. Like it is acclaimed, but it's still a blockbuster. I think this film's just really interesting in the fact that like the main reason I'm gonna buy it is that it is both a forgotten original because its remake has outlasted and outperformed and is just as far as everyone concerned, including the director of the remake, makes you kind of forget about this original. And then also just how this has kind of shifted international filmmaking, that nowadays, and it's obviously when we bring up that movie theater sequence and how you strictly see American posters in that cinema, that's the way it is now, even still. Like, it makes sense that all of those are kind of product placement in that sequence, and if this was filmed today, it would be the exact same thing. Like, for how many mermaids there are, like Kung Fu Hustle or Monster Hunt, there's also Alien Covenant and King Arthur and Wonder Woman. Like, the international box office is more important than the domestic one now. And this, I think, right at this time in history, right around 2002 to 2005, in the inner rim between Infernal Affairs and its American remake, The Departed, is when that shift happened. That in today's market, perhaps, if this film was made now, 15 years later, that there wouldn't have been a Departed, because it would have been such a breakthrough hit, kind of like Monster Hunt. Like, there's not going to be actually, they are making an American version of that for some fucking reason.
Well, I have not even seen Monster Hunt, so I don't even know.
I haven't either.
Yeah, hey, maybe I don't know, maybe that might work. I don't know.
I just think I think international film has come to a place now where if something is this good, the likelihood of it getting remade is much less, just because it's not because we've become smarter and we like subtitles and we're willing to adhere to different cultural norms and whatnot, but more so because of things like Netflix and Amazon.
It's more likely to get out there, but I'm not sure that a theatrical window would necessarily happen.
No,
but
but also like Kino Films, who did the theatrical release domestically for this, they made nothing. They made like 600,000 or something ridiculous. Yeah. Today, in that same kind of theatrical release, they would probably make something closer to like 6 million. Just because.
A good example might be Train to Busan, which I don't know how much that made, but I know for the most part, everyone that saw that, they saw that through streaming or through some digital rental. I doubt most people saw it in theaters here.
I mean, the better example would be, I'm going to butcher the name, Bugagali 2. The fact that made so much money here, and it's a 3-hour epic, and it's a sequel. And yet, what movie did it? It beat King Arthur. It beat something else at the box office. Like, it was a huge draw at a wide release. And I think that films like this one are kind of the catalyst in that change. And I got to buy it for that reason. Like, I think it's just a very important film in not just, blockbusters, but also the international spectrum. I don't know, 2 weeks from now, depends what you pick to follow up my Wong Kar-wai film, but
it'll be a step down for sure.
I definitely want to invest in Hong Kong cinema. I want to see some more Chinese filmmaking. I am curious, given that this is the first time that we've done international in a very long time, and yes, it is a string, but before this, it was like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and there's like one other thing in there besides Red Violin. Secret in Their Eyes. Or, I mean, Los Secretos de Sus Ojos. It's not something that we really did. This year we've really ramped it up with like Time Crimes, among other things. Like we are. I don't think we're consciously doing it, but more so.
It's funny because I actually have quite a few up my sleeve. Not 2 weeks from now, but there's quite a few other territories that I'm looking to explore. That hopefully I'll throw those titles out there. If there's not something topical going on, I'll pick through that hat.
Okay. Thanks for listening. We hope it's been a pleasure. If you like this show and you want to hear more of our wonderful voices on a weekly basis, check out 2 Cents. I'll recap what's happened in film, TV, and tech news.
We're also on the titular Dollar Review Show, a spoiler-free critique of new releases or anything we've discovered on our own, whether that be TV, music, etc.
You can find all of our content at dollarreviews.net. Follow us on Twitter, or like us on Facebook at Dollar Reviews.
And we're also on Google Play Music, iTunes, Pocket Cast, TuneIn, Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube, just about anywhere on the internet with hours of content available to you for free. But for those of you that feel that the show is worth your dollar, you can send us a donation at patreon.com/dollarreviews. Contributions not only earn our undying love, but they also make it possible for us to improve our recording equipment and to give you the highest quality episodes possible. But more importantly, they'd be helping us acquire the content to review. Trips to the multiplex are expensive, and the more donations we receive, the more films we can review for your listening pleasure.
If you listen somewhere we're currently not available, you'd like to contribute some talking points, send a Death to Cinema request, or even if you just want to laugh at us, you can do so by reaching out to us on social media or send an email to brian@dollarreviews.net.
Or you can email me as well, steve@dollarreviews.net.
You can follow me personally on Twitter at Brian Gillis, that's BRYONGILLIS, and now you know how to spell the email too, and also under the same name on the lovely site Letterboxd, which acts as my film diary, where I rate films that I'm watching, write the occasional review, and even sometimes compile lists.
You can also find me on Twitter at S_MTX, and also follow my film diary at Letterboxd under the same name, where I log everything I watch, and sometimes write brief reviews.
That's it for this week. Until next time, keep the change.